those drivers get screwed over. They just don't make what I would call a living wage. They don't make enough money. Economic growth. Abolish limits on the number of transportation jobs. Like I said, in New York, it's not just in New York, it's in most cities around the world. They've literally limited the number of jobs that can be created by the transportation industry so that they can have this asset that's worth a ton of money. Streamline licensing processes so somebody who's underemployed or unemployed can quickly get into that industry and be productive. For professional drivers, but also for those who want to drive maybe just a few hours a day. Maybe this is supplemental income. And on the tax side, bring underground transportation economy, right? When you go and pay a taxi in cash, driver's happy to take cash. It seems like these credit card systems don't work a lot of times. I'm not sure why. But it's because it's an off-the-grid industry. But once Uber goes into a city, it's now on the grid. And so we can partner with tax authorities to increase providers' compliance, those transportation providers, and increase overall tax revenue. So where are we today? So I sort of alluded to where we were in the US. In 2014, and this might come as a surprise for some of you, but in 2014, we worked with 22 different jurisdictions to pass laws regulating ride-sharing in the last year. Now, US is a little bit ahead of some of our other efforts internationally because, well, of course, we started in the US. But our international efforts aren't that far behind, and I think in Europe, we really want to make that the 2015 effort. So today in Europe, we have strong consumer adoption in many cities in the EU. We talked about Paris and London, of course. But in the Netherlands, Sweden, and Belgium, we also have growing businesses. Of course, we have challenges from incumbents. You may have read about them. France, Spain, Germany. Incumbents often are taking legal means to try to slow down progress. Competition authorities, however, across the EU have spoken out, urging governments to repeal anti-competitive laws and regulations. These are competition authorities from France, from Italy, Germany, Spain, the Netherlands, etc. And that's important to know because they see the rules that are out there that are keeping progress from happening, and they know that it's not good for the consumer, and it's not good for the cities themselves. And it's good for, obviously, for us, and I think for the cities, for these authorities to speak out. And so progressive legislation is now being considered. Well, we've got legislation being considered in Netherlands, in Brussels, and Helsinki. Of course, we'd like to see it in a few more places. And so my main message today is this, is that in 2015, we want to make 2015 the year where we establish a new partnership with EU cities, where we push for progressive regulations that ensure innovation and help build the smart cities of tomorrow, some of which I've outlined earlier, where we promote core city functions through partnerships on data and technology, and where we provide massive economic benefit to cities and their economies. What does this mean at the end of 2015? It means if we can make these partnerships happen, we create 50,000 new EU jobs. And remember, that's for 2015. That's in 1 year. And this is an exponentially growing company with operations that exponentially grow in each of the cities. So what happens when that triples the year after and doubles the year after that? It becomes a huge job generator. We want to take 400,000 cars off of EU roads in 2015, and we want to bring Uber Pool to more EU cities, reducing congestion and emissions. So that's our message for 2015. I think I'm probably going to be spending a little bit more time here in Europe. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you, Danke. Hey, good to meet you. Yeah. Do I? Okay. This is the hard part. I think they call this the hot seat.
Hi, Travis. It's
Hello.
great to have you here today with us.
It's good to be here.
Everybody's very excited of you being here.
I'm excited as well.
So
this is taking time. We can play the clock out. This is all good.
So if I understood you well, you do not want to fight public authorities anymore. You want to embrace them more or less. So you're kind of like waving the white flag a little bit, which is quite a big change compared to what you did till now. It reminds me a tiny little bit on a story I read in the Bible about a guy called Saul who became the good guy and renamed himself into Paul. And I'd like to know, can I still call you Travis today?
I might change my middle name. I'm just kidding. I'm not familiar with the story, but
you don't need to. So
okay.
Great. Travis is a beautiful name. We should stay there.
All right.
I'd like to share 2 thoughts with you
Yeah.
I had when you were just talking, if I may. I use Uber quite a bit, and you said Uber might be very good for the environment in the future. Actually, I stopped taking my bicycle since Uber exists. So I do take the car now, and I didn't take it before. And another thought, I just came here by Uber, and my driver told me that she can't make her living with the Uber drives, so she just did a taxi license. So I'd like to know, you were talking about creating jobs. I'm not so sure.
Now, the ride you're referring to, was it here in Munich?
Here in Munich, right.
So we've had particular difficulty growing supply here in Munich. And what that means is that demand outstrips supply. And when because everybody wants to get an Uber, but when demand outstrips supply, then that means pickup times are long. When pickup times are long, then the driver has a lot of downtime. And then the problem is the driver doesn't make enough money. And so in cities where we're not able to efficiently grow supply is where we get into a tricky situation in terms of making the system work, sort of what I would call exit velocity. It ends up resulting in what is known as surge pricing, raising prices, but then, of course, then fewer users want to use it. And so you get in this place where you get a little bit stuck. Now, the business here in Munich is starting to grow, and it will get better over time. What I can tell you is when it gets 10 times bigger than it is now, that driver will do twice as many trips per hour. And when that driver does twice as many trips per hour, then the income that driver sees starts to really matter.
Okay. That's a very interesting point you're mentioning. Actually, we're living in a time of permanent terror warnings at the moment, in Europe especially, sadly. And everybody remembers, I think, the Sydney hostage-taking and the fact that Uber prices went up 4 times. And I'd like to know, what are you doing, like what measures are you taking so that things like that won't happen again? Yeah,
I think, obviously our hearts go out for whether it's Sydney or some of the things that have happened in Paris. Remember, our teams, we're not a typical tech company, right? So we have people in every city that we operate in. And the teams that operate Uber in that city are the sons and daughters of that city. So we're part of that community. Our policy is clear on this, which is any state of emergency, any kind of just serious emergency of any kind, surge pricing gets turned off. It gets tricky when we don't know what's going on. But you can build technology that starts to identify anomalies like this and turns it off right as it happens. And then ultimately we can use the supply that is at our, that we're connected to help people get in and out of a situation, let's say. Maybe help authorities get in, other people get out. Work with charities if there's recovery. So we've done a lot of work with the Red Cross in the US with hurricanes and other storms that have happened. But we just need to, the playbook is there. We need to make sure that playbook is distributed to all